ever get curious about like the stuff around you,
Mm-hmm.
but like really curious, like how'd they even make this?
Right.
Who figures that out?
Yeah.
And what's that job actually like, you know?
I feel you.
Today, we're going deep on a career path that's honestly way more interesting than it might seem at first glance.
Okay.
We're talking plastic products assemblers,
Interesting.
and we've got these insights from RoleCatcher to help us kind of unpack all this.
They're great. It's a field that, it often flies under the radar,
Totally.
but it's way more nuanced than a lot of people realize.
I bet.
And that's where their whole data-driven approach, it really comes in handy.
Yeah.
They're revealing these hidden gems in the job market,
Totally. And their guide on this one, packed with details.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about like slapping plastic parts together on an assembly line, which I think is what a lot of people think when they hear that.
Right. Yeah.
They're using everything from like hand tools to CNC machinery.
Wow.
What's the learning curve like for that kind of technical range?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's this blend of like traditional craftsmanship,
Okay.
but then cutting edge tech.
Interesting.
You're learning the properties of all these different plastics, how they react to certain tools,
Oh, wow.
and then how to keep that precision even when you've got a machine doing some of the work.
Huh. Because the guide stresses these like strictly defined procedures, right?
Right.
But then it also talks about problem solving.
Right.
And so I'm picturing like in my head, tiny variations in the plastic that could throw the whole assembly off. Is
Yeah.
that a real thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The materials can have these slight inconsistencies.
Right.
Machines have their quirks.
Yeah.
And sometimes the designs themselves, they have these unforeseen challenges.
Oh, interesting.
When you're actually trying to put all the pieces together.
I see.
So yeah, you're following procedures, but you're also constantly thinking on your feet, adapting to like inevitable hiccups.
So you're telling me this job is like a hands-on puzzle every single day?
Kinda, yeah.
Wow.
And those problem-solving skills, they're becoming even more important
Yeah.
as tech evolves,
Makes sense?
We see this in the guide section on technology advances, I think it's called.
Yeah. It talks about automation, robotics, all that.
Exactly.
So does that mean like robots are taking over, or is it more like humans and machines working together?
Mm-hmm.
What does that even look like on the factory floor?
It's definitely more about collaboration than replacement,
Okay.
at least for now.
Right.
Think of it this way. A robot, maybe he can do a repetitive task, like insanely fast, super accurate,
Right.
but it can't adapt to weird variations or troubleshoot a problem the way a human can.
So those strictly defined procedures are more like guidelines then?
Yeah.
And the real skill is knowing how to work within those like parameters when things inevitably go a little
sideways.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty valuable skill set though.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is that need for adaptability. It isn't just for the technical stuff.
Oh, really?
RoleCatcher talks about soft skills in this field too.
Which is kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Because you'd think in this world of automation, human interaction would matter less.
Right.
But the guide even mentions needing a basic understanding of computer-controlled machinery. What's the balance there? Do you need to be like a tech whiz and a people person?
You don't need to be coding the machines or anything.
Okay.
But you do got to be comfortable interacting with them.
Okay.
As for soft skills, just think you're often working in teams, troubleshooting together,
Makes sense.
communicating with supervisors, all that.
Mhm.
Those dynamics can make or break a project, even in a manufacturing setting.
Yeah, for sure.
And that brings us to something interesting about career progression here, too.
Yeah, because it's not just an assembly line gig, right?
Right.
The guide talks about potential career paths. It even has an example profile of someone further along in their career.
Oh, cool.
What are some of the realistic avenues for advancement if you're starting entry level?
There are a couple main paths they highlight.
Okay.
One is moving into a supervisory role.
Okay.
So you'd be overseeing a team of assemblers, making sure quality's good, managing workflow, all that.
So going from maker to manager.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the other path?
Specialization. You could become the go-to person for assembling one particular type of product.
Oh, interesting.
Let's say medical grade components. Those are usually pretty intricate.
Yeah.
Or you can master a specific type of machinery or assembly process.
Okay.
You become the expert in that niche.
So you could go from piecing together the initial product to overseeing a whole line
Right.
dedicated to making like those intricate pieces that go into medical devices or something.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool trajectory.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the blend of skills this career path needs,
Yeah.
You're not just getting good at the technical stuff,
Right.
but you're also like honing those leadership skills,
Yeah.
communication,
Totally.
which are so key for moving up.
The guide also mentions education, actually. It
Yeah.
seems like a high school diploma will get you in the door.
Usually, yeah.
But extra certifications can help your resume. Is
Yeah.
that like the standard path?
It's interesting because experience often matters more than education in this field.
Yeah.
Being able to like point to projects you've worked on, having that background,
Yeah.
that carries a lot of weight.
So it's more about proving you can actually do it,
Yeah,
not just talk about doing it.
exactly.
But what about those certifications then? What kind of edge do they really give you?
They show you're serious about safety, quality, which are huge in manufacturing.
Right, right.
The guide specifically mentions workplace safety certifications. That's huge for employers because it shows you're not messing around,
Yeah, totally.
You want to do things right, maintain a safe environment.
It's interesting how this job requires like both respect for the rules and the ability to think on your feet
Yeah,
when those inevitable curveballs come your way.
always happens.
And speaking of navigating challenges, the guide digs into the hiring process too.
Okay.
They've got these whole sections on beating the automated recruiter and like acing interviews, which seems like super relevant right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, even in a field like this, where there's a good amount of demand,
Right.
getting hired, you still need a strategy.
Totally.
And that's where RoleCatcher's tools can be, like game changers.
What I find interesting is like they don't just focus on those hard skills. They also talk about like crafting your narrative,
Yeah, your story.
highlighting those soft skills we were talking about before.
It all matters.
Can you really ace an interview for this? Like for a plastic products assembler job, just by telling a good story?
Well, think about it. You're going to be
Yeah.
on a team, right?
Right.
You're going to be collaborating, troubleshooting.
So they want to know you can work with others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you communicate clearly? Can you follow instructions? Can you contribute to a good work environment?
So it's not just about like knowing how to, I don't know, the difference between polyethylene and polypropylene or whatever.
Right.
It's about like being able to talk about your experience,
Yes.
your problem solving, your willingness to learn.
All of that. Remember that interview prep example from the guide?
Which one?
Can you give an example of a time when you had to troubleshoot something during the assembly process?
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's not about plastic.
It's about how you think.
Yes. Your thought process, can you stay calm? Can you communicate what's going on?
Yeah.
Having a good answer ready for that could definitely set you apart.
It suddenly makes those soft skills seem like a lot less soft,
Right.
when you put it that way.
It's all about how you frame it in the context of the job.
Yeah.
And that's something RoleCatcher's really good at,
Yeah.
They help you connect those dots.
Between skills that seem kind of abstract
Yeah, exactly.
and what employers actually want.
They're giving you the blueprint, basically,
I like
to be the perfect candidate.
But even beyond the job hunt itself.
Yeah.
I'm really stuck on something you said earlier about experience being like king in this field.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you can go to school,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing beats that on-the-job knowledge.
There's no substitute for getting your hands dirty, messing up, figuring it out on the factory floor.
It's that mix of like theory and practice.
Yes.
You can learn about like, I don't know, the properties of certain plastics in a classroom,
Sure.
but actually seeing how they react to different tools, temperatures.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Totally. And that learning never really ends in this line of work either.
Oh, how so?
Well, tech's always changing, right?
Right.
New materials, faster processes, you're always adapting.
So even if you've been doing this for years,
Mhm.
you're still learning,
Totally. You have to be.
which again loops back to the soft skills.
There it is again.
Being adaptable, being a quick learner, communicating well.
Huge.
Those are the things that'll always be useful.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And that actually brings up a really interesting point about, like, the bigger picture here.
It's like I don't know, we've only just scratched the surface here. But it's obvious there's so much more to this
Yeah.
than like meets the eye,
It's like we always say, every job has those, like, hidden depths.
Totally.
And here, we're talking about a field that's literally shaping, like,
It's true.
the world around us.
It's true. It's funny. I was just thinking,
Yeah.
it's so easy to just like take for granted all the plastic stuff we use
Every day. Yeah.
But then you stop and think about the I don't know, the skill, the precision,
Right.
the artistry even that goes into it. It really makes you look at it differently.
It's about appreciating the craft behind, like, the everyday stuff, you
So
know?
totally.
We're so obsessed with digital stuff, virtual stuff, things you can't even touch.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's people in these workshops, these factories, using their hands, using their brains. They're the ones who actually build the world.
That's a really good point, and it's not just about like building things, is it?
Right.
It's about building a whole career path.
Yeah, totally.
We've talked about the technical stuff, the problem solving, all that,
Adaptability, big one.
but it's teamwork too.
Oh, for sure.
Communication, leadership, it's all connected.
And you're creating something you can actually touch, you know?
Right.
There's real satisfaction in that, I think.
Oh, totally. I can see that.
Seeing a finished product, knowing you were a part of making that happen.
Yeah, for sure. This deep dive has really like opened my eyes to all this.
I'm glad.
And I hope it's done the same for everyone listening.
Me too.
We've really only scratched the surface of plastic products assembly.
So much more to learn.
But thanks to RoleCatcher and all their insights,
They're great.
we've gotten a good look, I think, at this really important field.
Definitely.
And don't forget, they've got a ton of resources.
Free too.
If you're curious about this or any other career,
Best place to start, honestly.
they're the ones to check out.
100%.
So there you have it, folks.
That's a wrap.
A peek behind the curtain of the world of plastic products assembly.
More interesting than it sounds.
Way more interesting. We hope you found it as, I don't know, as eye-opening as we have.
Definitely.
Until next time, keep exploring
Keep learning.
and keep those career goals in sight.
We'll see you next time.